Hi everybody, David Black from Racetech here, and I'm going to be showing you how to assemble a Racetech simulator today. This was a product we came up with during lockdown because obviously a lot of you guys were wanting to go sim racing, and so we did a JV with MRX in Hamilton. So first of all, in our pack we have some images of the assembled simulator so that you can see how it all goes together, and also we have a simulator of all the actual parts, all numbered, etc., and also a list of all the fixings and everything you need to put this simulator together. So there's a bag of fixings and feet, adjustable feet, cable ties, self-adhesive cable ties to tighten things up once you get it assembled. We have 20mm coach screws. We have M6 nuts, flange nuts. We have 16mm coach screws for the flitch plates, which is for the joining the main chassis rails. We have miscellaneous bolts for fixing seats to the chassis, lock nuts for the feet, and last but not least, a few other nuts and bolts just to be able to fix components onto the rig if you need to. So that gives us that. We've also got a couple of thick washers for the foot plate adjuster so that it's spaced out. I'll explain that a bit more later. And that's about it. So first of all, for the assembly of these sim chassis, really very few tools are required. So we need a 1/4 inch drive socket with a 10mm socket. Long ones are better because you can fit over the 20mm threads then, and also a 10mm open end ring spanner. I've actually got a ratchet type here, which just makes it a little bit quicker for doing up those last nuts, and also a 18mm socket just for tightening up the adjustable feet once you get to that stage. So a couple of things to just explain here. Very cleverly done, we believe. If you look closely, where the main chassis rails join, there's a little, on this one it's a little radius lug and notch, so that you can only do it one way, that you can't mix up the chassis rails. So as you see there, a little radius on it, and on the other side we have V-notches, like so they go together. Then it's just a matter of grabbing your flitch plate and obviously making sure that the hole in the side of the bottom of the flitch plate matches up with the notch out in the channel, so that's where your middle adjustable foot goes. Then obviously we so it pays to just be able to spread out your nuts and bolts so you can get to them easily. Just start off by putting your flitch plate in. You'll notice that all of the holes are square holes. Obviously they work with a coach bolt so that you don't have to have two spanners, just one spanner to do it up. A bit of a trick getting these nuts to start on these, but once you get the knack of it, it's pretty quick. So that's your first chassis rail put together. So we have all the coach screws nice flat in to the bolts on the inside against where your body is. Everything's still just finger tight. So we just put that aside for a second and move into the second one. So as I say, the second one has the radius notch and protrusion there, so only one way for it to go together. We make sure we have the hole to the notch, so the flitch plate goes in there and obviously lines up, and we carry on the same process. So it's just this is the left-hand chassis rail, no sorry, right-hand chassis rail, and so they're quite clearly different when you figure it out. The These are the slots for the mounting the seats, and these are the holes, etc., for mounting the pod, which is where your screen and pedals, etc. go. So, there you have the two chassis rails together now, all just still finger tight, and now we're ready to put the end plates on. We get the two end plates, they're identical. They have the big hole at the bottom for where the adjustable foot goes in. They have two holes on the top where you can mount a harness eye bolts if you want to put a harness on your sim, and that's the hole on the bottom for the crutch strap if you're using a full 6-point harness on your sim. So it's a simple matter of sliding these over the end, like so, and lining up the square hole so that you can put in the, we're now using 20mm, so all of those bolts that we used in the flex plates were 16mm coach screws. The ones we're using for the rest of the assembly of the sim are all 20mm, and so it's just a similar process. Square hole, line up. Again, just do these finger tight because they're the ones at the pod end you actually take back out again when you're putting the pod on, because these use the same bolt holes. So this is the pod end. It's just a couple of holes in the slot. And the other end here is the seat end. And we're going to put in our adjustable feet. So these are just a simple foot. You can set these to any height you like, really. I find it quite simple just to have it at the lowest setting. Again, straight in the hole, and just do that nut up, just finger tight again. So just go through all of those. So and last one. And once we've done this, we then put this aside and start assembling our pod. The pod has kind of been named just because it's where everything, really, all the workings and all the electronics are. And it's the most crucial part of the sim, we believe, which is because it makes it so stiff. So we'll just put this aside for now. So just carrying on with this assembly, so we're starting with the pod now, which is the crucial part of the workings of the sim and what gives it all its rigidity. So we'll start off by just bolting up the middle two bolts of the main stiffener in the top of the pod, and the first of the main side plates. So that's just a couple of bolts there just to get it located. There's a number of holes, but there are a number of components that all go together, including the monitor mount, the screen mount, which sits up on top. So we just get those ones in there to start with. That's that side, and then we put the other side on. Again, all square holes, so you don't have to worry about two spanners. You're just using the one. The square of the coach bolt goes into the square hole in the aluminium, and therefore makes the whole process really very simple. So again, just do those up pretty tight for now. So there you go, there's your main kind of pod, and then we just start adding the other pieces onto it. So we then have the two pieces for the back, which have the hole in the middle for the cables. And you'll notice that there's tabs on each of these which line up with holes all the way down the side of the pod here. So again, we start in the middle. And this is really, the aluminium's light enough that it actually just folds into the shape. Let's just start putting these bolts on. Just work your way up. And then I'll put these ones in here as well, which just ties it to that main stiffener. We leave these other holes etc for now because that's where the steering wheel mount goes to, and so we'll assemble that at the same time. As you can see, it just bends around reasonably easy to give it that nice curved shape, which is obviously the finished shape of the pod. We'll just do the same thing with the other side. So it's important the tabs go inside the side plates. And now we just flip it over and put the front of the pod on, which are again two more pieces, similar shape, but you'll notice they have no hole in the centre for cables, because obviously this is the part that's you look at when you see the symbol from the front. So again, same story, just start at the middle tab and work your way up, work your way out. Tabs on the inside of the side panels, always. It actually doesn't go any other way. You can't make this go together incorrectly. It's kind of so intuitive that okay, so again, just make sure all these are just finger tight, and there's your pod. So now the next step is to add on our standard steering wheel mount for the likes of your Logitech steering wheels, etc. Again, it's just same nuts and bolts, coach screws. We'll start with the top. So if we just have a look at this, we have just fixed holes at the top here, but slots in the pod. And then on the sides we have fixed holes and slots in the steering wheel mount. So it's just, we'll start with the top ones. So again, bolt into square hole. And nut on the inside. Okay, that's the steering wheel mount put on, not adjusted or tightened up yet. And the next one is the monitor mount. So the monitor mount has got large slots in it, so it can slide backwards and forwards. And then obviously at the front of it you have a number of different mounting points. Obviously for whichever monitor, if you're using a single monitor, either the inside slots or the outside bigger slots with washer plates, so you can put your little 4mm bolts into the back of your monitors. So the big slots are also used for when you decide to go for 3 screens, and the 3 screen mount that bolts off this. So this is now a universal part that does both the single monitor and the 3 screen mount. Show you how much adjustment you've got there, so you can go right forward to there, all the way back to there. So you've got quite a bit of adjustment, and once you've got it all mounted up, obviously you'll tighten that up. So I'll just put that aside now, come back to that in a minute. So the next important thing is our foot plate. So obviously the foot plate, that's what these slots in the side of the main chassis rails are for. So you've got a huge amount of adjustment to be able to get this foot plate at whatever height you want. We have an adjuster plate that goes up the end of it, so you can adjust the height at the back, or some people may be able to get enough adjustment just with the plate itself, fore and aft as well. You'll also notice that there's a difference in distance between the end of the back. This unit works both ways, and again it will depend on which adjustment you actually want. So the first thing to do is to mount the adjuster plate. So I'm just going to go right to the top. Coach screws going through from the outside slot. I'm going to go into the second one down and into the end of it again. A little bit fiddly this. It's quite a big piece. And now the next bit is, if you remember, I talked about a couple of heavy washers. So there's two 3mm thick by M8 washers which are used as spacers, because obviously the foot plate itself is 3mm and it needs to be able to move inside the chassis. So this is about, I'm just going to exaggerate this and put it right up high, but it's about getting that washer in between the adjuster plate and the, and it's not really easy. There you go, just take your time and it will come to you. Main chassis with the foot plate, as you can see it's quite adjustable up and down, or I'm not going to tighten it up yet. So the next thing is to put our pod back on, undo these two end bolts, the top ones only, which we left finger tight obviously. That was not finger tight. So one of the nice things about these flange nuts is they bite into the aluminium, so they don't need to be very tight. They're only an M6 bolt, so they actually can be quite loose. So one pod that lines up on those end bolt holes, and it also has two bolt holes back here which are just square holes which bolt down into the main chassis. So I'll put these ones in here first. Again, just straight down through the square holes. And do that up. And the next one. And we'll just finger tight. So two bolts down onto the top of the chassis rail, and come around the other side. I'll do those in a minute. So what I'll do, I will come around that side and show you how they all go together. So again, we'll just do this vertical one first. Finish that off. Come on out. And the other one's three horizontal bolts, which again go through into there and just enough on the inside. And it just pulls that last bit of the curvature in for the side plate, and amazing how it just bolts up. It's really very simple and intuitive. So there you are, folks, your Racetech MRX simulator. This is how you buy the standard chassis. So this is the main chassis rails, foot plate, adjustable, standard steering wheel mount for your Logitech wheel, etc. Monitor mount, and all the bolts and everything you need to put that together. And then you're left with some spares, spare bolts, which will also work for some of your accessories. So thanks very much, hope you enjoyed that.